Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
We sure are.
And we're very excited today. We have Dr. Paul Zeitz. He is a preventive medicine physician, epidemiologist, author, and award-winning champion of global justice and human rights. He's been on the front lines of the global AIDS movement, climate transformation, racial and gender equity, authentic democracy, sustainable development, and child welfare in the US and around the world. Often when the odds against success appeared to be insurmountable, with Dr. Paul's leadership and support, barriers fell and victories arose. Through many of his challenges and experiences, he's also learned to fail forward. In his acclaimed new book, Revolutionary Optimism, 7 Steps for Living as a Love-Centered Activist, Dr. Paul shows us how to break free from feelings of confusion, pessimism, oh my goodness, cynicism about the world and step into a place of empowerment, resourcefulness, and inspiration. Through the inside-out approach to healing, self-liberation, and transformation, Dr. Paul ignites in us a profound depth of optimism that has the power to change lives. So welcome, Dr. Paul. We're very excited to have you on our podcast today.
Great to be here. Thank you so much, Barb and Kim. It's an honor, and what an intro. Wow.
Well, I had a little problem with some of the words, apparently, but you know, it's for us, it's the end of the day. So, so can you tell us a little bit about your book and how you kind of got into the process of writing this book and getting it out, the information you're getting out to the world?
Of course, happy to do so. Thank you. So I was dealing with anxiety and despair about the state of the situation, the state of our country, the state of our world, the super crises that we were facing. And I watched my patterns of like, you know, forget it, it's over. I'm just going to throw the blankets over my head and, you know, check out. And it turns out, like in the United States, there's about 2/3 of the country is what is now called the exhausted majority. You know, the people who are just fed up with this broken system and broken everything, and so misaligned with our values. You know, so it's like check out. So as a doctor, I felt like I had to create a solution, a cure for that state of hopelessness. So, and this has like kind of been a lifelong journey, but I articulated in Revolutionary Optimism as 7 steps for living as a love-centered activist. And while writing the book, I grew and clarified, and I'm now living as a revolutionary optimist. I'm using the practices of the book. It's a handbook. It's got stories from people all over the world. It's got my own stories, and then some, you know, research and book recommendations and practices, or RXs, I call it. You know, I put on my doctor hat and I say, you know, these are your treatments, but it's really practices that you can do, you know, by yourself or in groups. And there are ways of exploring all these opportunities to live as a love-centered activist.
Cool. So do you have a picture, your book in front of you so we can show people?
I absolutely do.
Okay, great. That always helps. People know what to look for, right?
Yeah.
Very nice cover. Beautiful.
Thank you so much. It's the 7 steps. There's 7 kind of color schemes, like emanating from the earth. So
beautiful.
And, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I worked hard on. I didn't do it, but getting to that cover was a long journey.
Yeah. I think all that process of writing and creating and stuff like that is a long journey. And if you're trying to get a message across, like just getting it so that it makes sense to people and is in terms that people understand is a big thing, right? Because there's a lot of books out there that have the information, but they're so hard to understand. You're like, huh?
That's my hope. You know, it's the kind of handbook I wish I had when I was 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, even 60, I would have taken it. I think it's good for, you know, it's like, it's a synthesis.
So beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about these steps that and how it kind of works out, or lead into it of what you're trying to gain from getting this book out and what we gain from having this revolutionary optimism?
Of course, thank you. Yeah. So revolutionary optimism is really about living the path of love, living love with every step, with every breath, with every thought, and working on that, like creating yourself as that. And it's a self-generated way of living on the path of love. Everyone's on their own journey. And it's about discerning your soul's purpose, making choices, how to serve every day, and connecting to what I call the great mystery, which is this unity awareness or unity consciousness, this sense of our interconnectedness. And that's those three steps. The first three steps are really about self-liberation, and that's covers that kind of ground. Then step 4 is the heart of the book. It's like the heartbeat. It's like, it's called peace crafting. It's how we relate to each other. And I have an imaginary implant that I put in my brain. It's this circle that is about being a listening friend, embracing multiple perspectives, using love speech, and building trust. So every time I'm speaking, that thing's like, there you go again. You forgot about that love speech. It's like, it's just like, it's a game. It's a way of like programming myself. And then the last 3 steps of the book are what I call are about self-liberation. Step 5 is called imagineering, unlocking our imaginations, our radical imaginations, our political imagination, and then manifesting it, like building love-centered movements of people. We're in this together. We're not alone. That's a big thing. And then sparking peaceful revolutions, and then unifying. So step 6 is peaceful resistance, getting on the streets, non-cooperation, use your buying power to effect change, other ways that you can serve in those in that peaceful transformation. And lastly, unifying within and unifying collectively.
Beautiful. I like it. I like it a lot.
It's worth exploring, is the way I see it.
Well, absolutely. And I think the more that, I like the way that you said that, because I feel like we do have to have that trust out there to know that there's people around us, or potentially could be around us, that have the same ideology as us, that we can go forward and make some changes and force peacefully some changes to happen in our world and around us, of the way that we're living.
True.
Yeah, so my theory, I guess it's a theory, is that, or my observation, maybe it's a better way of saying it, is that the violent revolutions are unfolding with great velocity. We have street violence, we have gun violence, we have mass incarceration, we have wars, we have the largest military industrial complex in human history, 750 bases, $1 trillion a year. I mean, that stuff is moving. It's on the news,
Wow.
in case you haven't seen it. The climate emergency on top of that, and the economic inequality. So all that division and suffering and pathways to destruction they're rolling. So what I'm offering is like this idea of a response to that can be a peaceful revolutionary process that can kind of get it off the cliff and bring us towards healing, repair, and transformation. And it only can happen as a we. It's not about me or you it's about a collective. Yeah. So on the ideology point you made, I just want to clarify, like, I advocate for an interpartisan view. We're not seeking agreement. Like, I don't agree with everything I think, even. I certainly don't ever agree with everything anyone else thinks, like my wife or my kids, And so I'm not seeking uniform ideology per se. I'm seeking listening, learning, and interpartisan. Like, let's bring people together. Most people want common sense solutions. The vast majority all agree on common sense solutions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. that is very true.
And we need all hands on deck. Frankly, we need all ideas, all capacities, all innovators, all supporters, whatever role people choose to play. We need all that to succeed in this quest here that we're on to go that way.
And how does one get started to do this? If you have no idea, if you're just like, I have no idea, I want to, get out there and be unified with people, but how do I get started?
Perfect. Yeah. So step one is called It's Go Time. So it's about like, it's now, like right here, right now, it's go time. Like this isn't about next week or next month or next year or in 5 years. It's like now. And so the idea is like the first practice, I think, is called How Can I Serve? So it's waking up every day and being grateful for the gift of life. Like, why are we even here? Who knows? But we're alive and we have an experience to get into for the day. So then, how can I serve? And then I introduce the 4 circles of service, which is a theme throughout the book. It's like self-love, self-care. Like that counts as being a love-centered activist, like brushing your teeth, going to the doctor, whatever, getting a massage, whatever you do, exercising, however you feed yourself, whatever. All that is self-love. Then family, same thing, children, parents. You guys are a model mother-daughter relationship. Doing a podcast. That's so 21st century, I must say. I'm like, no prior generation could have done this, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, thanks. We
Right,
think so
right.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like it. We like it.
And then it's community and then the world. So you can serve in all those ways. It all counts. So everyone, maybe, I don't know, I think everyone has aspects of living as a love-centered activist already, even if they don't see it that way.
Well, so many people today have lost themselves somewhere. And that was the whole incentive with why we put this together. Because so you talk to so many people and they don't know where they're going and what they're doing, and they're lost and they're in their phones. There's so many narcissists around because it's about themselves and things like that. So when we started doing the podcast, it was about reaching out to those people and saying, hey, there's something else out there that can make you feel like a whole person and generate self-love like you're talking about, and so that they care about themselves and everything around them, right? So like your idea, it makes sense to me 100%.
Beautiful. Yeah. It is important, like you're saying, like what you did is so brave and important, like to build community around love-centered spaces. And because you get into this idea that you're alone and you're creating space so that everyone knows you're not alone. It's actually a myth. It's a lie that we're alone. We're not alone. We're in this together. So you've created that space. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly what you're ahead of the curve of love-centered activism. Come on, bring them on.
We didn't know that when we started, but that's okay. It's we just love putting it out there so that people can find ways to make themselves feel complete and whole and happy and love themselves, because that's a tough one for people.
Yeah, so that's step 2, which is self-liberation. And I talked in there, and I'm a survivor of childhood sexual violence at the hands of my father. So I had early childhood trauma. And then I, went under the wing of my mom, and she gave me a lot of love. So that's how I kind of came out, like I survived it. I don't even know how that happened, actually. It was an awful young childhood. But I was dealing with healing from trauma my whole life. I didn't even know it. I had an amnesic barrier for 40 years. I didn't have any memories. So then, I've been on this learning and healing journey. So I had a very powerful inner dragon, that was like ruling my mind and telling me I was no good, not good enough, I was stupid, I was ugly, all these things, limiting beliefs in any way possible. And the inner dragon is there for a reason, to protect us. It's part of the human psyche, and it's there to protect us from danger. So protect, and now what I've learned for myself and what I'm offering in Revolutionary Optimism is that we have dominion over the inner dragon, and we can choose to tame it, or I like to call it like a peace summit within my mind, so
Yeah.
that I honor it, I recognize its value, and it's not the ruler of the roost anymore. It's like a partner in maybe a silent partner as much as possible in calm states. When I need it to act when I'm in danger, though.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important thing that you said with that, because I think we often, we shove those things down and we're afraid of them. But I agree that we do need to have them with us as like a silent partner for the danger thing. And, but it's good to recognize it and not allow it to have that power over you that it had when you're going through that trauma of your life, whatever it may
Exactly.
be, right?
Exactly. You
So,
don't let it, yeah. And you get to choose to activate my right side of that's the left. This is the fun, not the fun, the fascinating thing is that it's the left brain where the nerve bundles where this occurs, and then on the right side of the brain is the creative, the connective, the healing, the higher self, that connected to purpose, part of ourselves. It gets closed down by the inner dragon. And so it's like, you're taking a nap. Start with taking a nap, inner dragon, and then this part starts lighting up, and that's what y'all are doing.
yeah, 100%, because I think when that is talking all the time, you can't, like, I know for myself, when that little part of me is going, it's like, okay, I can't even think straight because
Yeah,
it's
it's rolling.
overpowering.
Totally. It's all the way we're built, by the way. It's not like, so this is the thing I want to say. It's like part of the human condition. So we should kind of like be easy on ourselves. Like we're not alone in wrestling with the inner dragon. So it's like everyone. So that's another part of the community that we're building. The beloved community where we get to heal this wound, this struggle that we all have together and support each
Mhm.
other in it. Because it's not easy.
No, it's not. But I think when you find it and you can radiate it out there to other people, how it feels so good to have that joy and that in your when you're talking to them, and that it sends such a message to people of peace and love, and there's so many people that can't find it. So when we do that as a whole, like you said, a whole bunch of us doing it, yeah, like it's strong, it's beautiful. It's overwhelming too. But it actually, when you walk away from a conversation, when it is with love and things like that, you feel so good about it. You feel good about yourself too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all worth it. I try to smile wherever I go because I like people to see a smile on my face. And I also like to see if I can make them smile. And, just because why
I'm
not?
gonna take that move down. That's a new game for me. Can I make them?
And I like to do that though. And I even comment to some people, like, if they've had a bad attitude, like, are you having a bad day or something? Because, it's, because sometimes somebody saying something like that to you gives you that little reality shake, like, whoa, I wonder why they said that. Right. And can put you back into, hopefully, to put you back into a good frame of mind, not one of a grumpy. But, I think that we're all trying to source out that happiness and give everybody that chance to be a little more friendly and happy and get their heart out there, and show it to the world.
Yeah, that's amazing ability, right? To be able to like not get triggered when someone's acting at you and smiling back and making humor with it and lightening the moment, non-reactivity. That's the inner dragon being non-reactive, and that's the right side of the brain being playful and joyful. And in the face of that, that's hard to do, So
Yeah.
kudos to you. Another aspect of this I wanted to mention is that, because you're talking about the isolation and people are feeling alone. You know, there's a lot of isolation out there. So one of the things that I've been really exploring as a inside myself as living as a revolutionary optimist is the grief that I feel and the sadness about the state of things. And, you know, from my own story or from things that I'm witnessing, the amount of trauma and violence going on today, even, it induces grief on me. And so what I've had to create, and this is it's in revolutionary optimism and unifying, is holding both truths. It's like, yes, hold the joy, like the joy of being alive, the beauty of humanity, the beauty of the diversity, you know, all the good things, the flowers, the trees, the sky. And, you know, we have to also touch into our grief, and feel it. But, you know, the shadow side of the grief is the hopelessness and despair. So it's like I'm creating experiencing grief and joy, and then, you know, translating that into action.
Mhm.
And that's the self-healing action and the collective healing action.
Yeah, it
That's good.
helps you push yourself that way when you're embracing all areas of yourself, right? Because as a whole, all of those things matter and make us who we are, to be able to go out into the world, to be of service, and to, you know, get our messages out. And, you know, I find it really interesting in the last couple of years, because there's been such division with people. It's like, if you have an opinion, even if your opinion is somewhat similar, there's this division, because you can't, a lot of people were like, I can't accept your truth. And it's like, why can't we, you know, just agree to disagree, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, that's at the heart of peace crafting, that paradox, right? Like we've lost the ability to just, you know, have a joyful, even disagreement and be able to share ideas. And
Mhm.
that has led to hyperpolarization. So really what I see it as is like inner dragons just at each other, you know, in two people, you know, one inner dragon, you know, in another inner dragon, just going, can't, no, you know, shut you down, you know. It's like, it's so sad, right? And it's even happening in my life with people I love. And I feel a lot
Mhm.
of grief about that, honestly. But and then I'm choosing to be in solidarity and community, beloved community, with like-hearted people that aren't in that, you know, that have, you know, understand that we can do better than what is currently going on.
Mhm.
Mhm. So do you go ahead, Kimmy?
No, you go ahead.
No, no, go.
You
I was
guys
just
should,
gonna
like, you know,
say,
have a talking stick.
right? I was just gonna, I know, I need talking stick, yeah. Because I often cut her off, so I'm trying to turn my ways. No, I was just gonna say that I think it's so important what you're getting out there, because it's so true, and I love it. And I kind of have this cartoon going in my head right now when you're talking about the dragons.
That's okay. That's a good cartoon. You
Yeah.
know,
You get to laugh. Ultimately, you get to laugh at it. Like when you start, when you cultivate your awareness of it and you understand how it operates. This is, you know, work over time, and then you see it as it's happening. And you go, calm down. Nice try. You know, sorry, you're not running the show today. Or sometimes it does take over, and I have to like get out of it. I have to figure. You know, I go through it where it still takes over. So.
so is it because it's triggered by something?
Yeah, I'm triggered by everyone, everything, all the time. So
Okay,
I'm always managing my triggers, you know, like, you know.
I
So
too.
sometimes I get tired or I'm too vulnerable and I'm just not as good at managing it. Like, you know, I made that was kind of a joke. It was an extreme statement. I'm not triggered by you all. So
But it's
I just,
hard when you have the people that you're close to that you trigger you in ways of just the
yeah.
way you're thinking and stuff. And that I find sometimes that's something that I wrestle with, is there's somebody that's in my close inner circle and they're kind of poking those little, thorns at you. It's like, how do you make this a positive situation that, again, can't we just agree to disagree? And, we can come at this at a different level where we could be more, I don't know, even minded or even centered or something. So what do you think about that? Like, how would you propose we change that?
Yeah, so step two, part of self-liberation, the other part of that is really about managing your triggers. And I offer the exploration of taking 100% responsibility for managing your own triggers. And I offer a practice for how you do it. There's a whole toolkit. If you want to really dig into it, I have the hyperlink to a fantastic toolkit. And it talks about, like, when, like I said, I get triggered. I used to get triggered by everyone all the time. And it tells you how to deal with it. You take a breath. If your inner dragon is activated, like, boop, you can't be in, like you said earlier, Kim, that you can't be in a conversation. So don't try to solve it. Like, take a break, go time out. Like, we used to do with the kids, like, go to your, and then you take a breath, you think about it, you process it. And then there's courageous conversations sometimes you need to have. So that's another practice in there. Like, how do you practice having those really difficult conversations, those things that might be, disruptive of the status quo, but are coming from a love-centered place. So that's also, there's practices to explore and preparing for those kind of moments that will arise for all of us.
Yeah. I like the idea that you have that on your site, that people can go in and learn about dealing with their triggers. I find there's so many people you talk to have triggers about some things, and they don't know how to deal with them. So it's good that you're talking about this, and we can share it on our site to let people know that they can find you have, all the tools with you to help them walk through that. Because I know that when I get triggered, sometimes I can feel the fire coming up inside of me, and it's like, oh my God, how do I deal with this trigger? and then you're fighting with yourself, going, okay, I'm not going to let it bother me, not going to let it bother me. Oh, okay, I'm all right with this. I can work with it. But it takes a while to learn how to do that. So I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you have that. Thanks.
Yeah, and I also offer in step three in unified consciousness, that idea about collective consciousness. First of all, not everyone knows that that is a concept that you can access, or an experience actually that you can access. Even though I believe everyone's had the experience, for example, in nature, or even at a funeral or at a birth, there's a sense of our interconnectedness. And so then learning how to, you go to the gym and you learn how to access unified consciousness, or that unified consciousness. And then in moments when you need it, like when you're triggered or I'm triggered, then I can deploy it as a way of calming my nervous system and not reacting, and like being present in the present moment. So I tell a story in the book. Can I share that now, or
Absolutely.
quickly?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I After October 7th, 2023, when the Hamas attacked inside of the state of Israel, uh, I I've been going through a very difficult time, because I'm Jewish of origin, and it's been a very divisive issue in my family. And I've also gone through a lot of learning and engaging in the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to the March for Palestine in Washington, D.C. in November of that year. And there were Jews there, but not that many. And it was mostly Islamic and Palestinian and Arabs from all over the country, 500,000 people. And they were speaking their truth. And I was there, I was with my couple of my kids, and then I got separated from them. And I was standing there in the middle of all this really crowded space. And I started like getting triggered. I started seeing these people as like they were going to hurt me. Someone was going to stab me. It was like the Hollywood films started playing. All that cultural narrative that I've been brainwashed, all those TV shows and, about the terrorists and all that. And I said, I closed my eyes, I did a heaven and earth water breathing, which is in the book. And then I did a chant, a hallelujah chant that I also have in the book. And then I was able to okay, calm down. You got triggered. That wasn't real. That was like a story. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, oh my God, look at the beauty of the diversity of humanity. Look at the ability of these folks to speak their truth. I didn't agree with everything they said, and some of it was triggering, and it was their truth, and in the heart of Washington, D.C. And I said, that is what the vision of our country really is. It's about freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, speak your truth. And I realized in that moment that I almost could have missed that, because I was about to run. I was about to leave in fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because we do put those walls up when that happens, and I love how you say that. Like we've been brainwashed in so many ways, and some of these stories that have come out over the news, over TV shows, over you can go down rabbit holes on the internet on different things, and we allow that to take over for us. And so I love how you said that you brought that piece back into yourself to be able to look at it through different eyes,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it a better experience, in my opinion.
Well, I was able to be there. I would have.
Right? So
It's a fight or flight thing is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the trauma response. It's flight, freeze, and fawn or appease, and
Mhm.
I never learned about the last one till later in life. Fight and flight and freeze. Freeze is like where you feel numb. I think a lot of those people you were talking about the one that feel isolated, they're numbing out.
Mhm.
That majority that we talked about earlier.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's numbing. And then fawning is when you're like going along to get along. You're like, do it. Your narratives that you're living through are the ones that say, I can't say my truth. I have to go along to get along.
Mhm.
Or only this is possible. That's not possible. It limits possibility, limits imagination.
Yeah. I've been in that scenario where
Yeah, we all.
you're just, I think everybody has, right? You've been in something where you're in an awkward situation where you feel like if you're going to speak your truth, that could actually impact your life in
Mm,
whichever way that is, right? Rather it's
Mhm.
keeping your job or whatever it is. And that when you're talking to the people that you're talking to, that's how you feel at that moment is right. I'm just going to go along with it and not say anything, because then I'm not rocking the boat. I'm not creating this mass hysteria to start happening in that situation. And it's not comfortable though, because you're just like, why do I have to be silenced? Why can't
mm.
I just speak my truth and be respected for my truth, even if it isn't what your truth is?
Mhm. That's very true.
Amen. Yeah, well said.
Really true.
Yeah. I really
Yeah.
take this on in Imagineering because I think these limiting beliefs that you're describing operate like sometimes we create them in our own minds. Sometimes they're family norms that get acculturated in, we get raised in. Now, obviously, you guys didn't have any problems in that one. And then, then there's the community, and then there's the societal. Like I live in this geography, and we have certain norms. In this area, for example, and then it's more the collective narratives that get created by Hollywood, by our politics, by the broader framers of reality. And a lot of that is oppressive, actually. And it's designed to close down possibility and to close down, like we've internalized the oppression systems in our minds. And we have to just start to, oh, what is he talking about? and then start examining how we are thinking. And then you may start seeing patterns of oppression and limiting beliefs. And like, where did that come from? Is that real? You know, so to then ultimately all this is everything we've talked about today about revolutionary optimism is all about every person's personal choice.
Right.
This is self-created, self-determined.
I find myself lately with talking and communication with people, then when they give me a piece of information I'm unsure of, I find myself now saying things like, I have to think about that. Maybe it is a possibility because, maybe it is, and I don't want to, cut them down. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, in this world that we live in today, there's so many things that we look at and we're going, that's really possible. Like, what can't we have in this world if we really want it and manifest it? We're talking about bringing things to us all the time, right? So why not give it a chance to say, yeah, maybe there is a possibility of rolling the dice or moving things around, and it'll work for me too. And I like to think of it that way because maybe they are giving me some information that maybe I should look at. And,
yeah, that's beautiful. That first response of being, let me think about it. What I see that as is really important, which is you're creating a space for possibility. You're not closing down. You're not closing it down for yourself or for the other, for that space between you two, you know? And that is so, so beautiful to hear that's your first that's your natural response.
I try.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's the way to go.
Because it's too easy to go the other way. But it's funny because when you communicate with people like that and they'll go, what do you mean you're going to try? That's like, well, I'll think about it.
Yeah, you'll think about it. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Be open to the possibilities, right? Which I think creates more unity by doing that, because
so
you're opening up
I
that
did have a
space
thought
for
that when you were talking, Barb, I was thinking the way that I am exploring this is like, because you were saying like we could create whatever we wanted, whatever. So one of the questions that I'm asking, we started with in ourself is like, how can I live the path of love by living with every step, every breath, every action, right? Then I started asking, I had this kind of question that arose for me very strongly. What would it look like if we put love at the center of our social, economic, and political systems? And then I was like, whoa, like that's a good question to keep asking, and then imagining into that, and then manifesting it, as you said. So I'm just asking that question with everything that's going on. Like when Israel-Palestine and the Gaza situation, I'm like, okay, this is clearly not putting love at the center. I mean, that's clear. So then it's like, what would I do if I was putting love at the center? And how would, what could the response be? And how can I create energy behind that possibility of peaceful coexistence, for example? Which is totally possible, right? These are cousins that are that are inner dragoning at each other, literally a family feud going on for thousands of years, and slightly out of control, you might say. And it's just an opportunity for healing and repair and transformation. I think we're on the cusp of that. The situation is so dire that maybe that's going to be the opportunity for the evolutionary leap so that we can transform into this new way.
So when you contemplate that question, then does that help bring in action of what you can do to be of service, to put that out, to make that more of a peaceful and love-centered, like somehow we can do something to make it more love-centered, to create that change?
Yeah, if you choose, there's different ways to serve. Like I said, all those 4 circles, right? But in step 5, Imagineering, I really get nuts and bolty here and get into like, okay, 10 best practices for love-centered movement building. Again, we're not in this alone. and like learning the best practices for building movements. And then it's like, what's your role? And your role can change. And I give all these, what do I prioritize? What's important to me? So I give tools for prioritization and also for clarifying roles, different kinds of roles that you can play at different moments and for different things that you might care about. And then step 6 is really the fun one, sparking peaceful revolutions, because that's about invoking the politics of Martin Luther King, who's over my shoulder, and it's invoking what he called nonviolent direct action. I'm calling it peaceful resistance. It's like we all can participate in that as love-centered activists from our homes, from our computers, from our phones, and we can take on other things, and we can do direct action on the streets. And I share in the step 6 and sparking peaceful revolutions, we only need about like 5% of the population that actually is on the street, but you need like another 50% or 60% that are supporting them, that are aligned with them. And then we can, then that's how peaceful revolutionary transformation can occur. So it's not that, it's only like 30 million people. I mean, it is a lot, but it's not, you know, we're 330 million people. So it's not the whole thing. You know, we can get there, I think. And you see the foment out there now. You can see all the mobilizations, all the direct, all the peaceful resistance that's really increasing now. To me, we're at a historic moment of possibility. The Christians call it a Kairos moment of possibility, where we're living into this transformational era of reckoning and healing. And we'll see how it unfolds over the next 6 months as we complete 2024. Be interesting to see where we end up.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, it definitely will be interesting to see where we end up with that. And I look forward to reading your book because it sounds like there's just so many tips in there. And I love that you sort of have that little bit of a toolkit that you can kind of walk yourself through it and find out, you know, how you can stand up for what your truth is in a peaceful way and, you know, find your community to embrace you around that as well. So I love that message that you're bringing forth with it.
You bet. You bet. Me too. Me too.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to hear that feedback so quickly, and let me know how the book is going for you. I just also published a journal and workbook, which is a companion. It's like for those to do a deeper dive, there's like larger, you know, journaling paper, but also there are guiding questions for groups. And this is just brand new, just launched, so I don't have evidence yet, but I do believe the idea of doing it with family groups or friend groups, book club groups, spiritual groups, civic groups, whatever, building friendships together by exploring these practices could be fun.
Yes.
I think so too. And so where can you find your book? Is it on Amazon or?
Yeah, well, I'm recommending people go to www.revolutionaryoptimism.com, and there you can buy it through Amazon or another route called bookshop.com. And then if you sign up, you can get our free Changemakers Companion Kit, which includes more information and tools and support to help you on your journey of revolutionary optimism.
Wonderful.
www.revolutionaryoptimism.com.
Perfect. I will put that in the show notes. And can you tell everybody where to find you?
So you can find me at drpaulzeitz.org. It's DRPAULZEITZ.org. That's complete information about me and what I'm up to, events that I'm having, and opportunities to connect and engage. And there's also unifymovements.org, which is the movement building space. So if you want to explore the movements that are at the cutting edge of transformation and healing, I'm featuring them. I'm in solidarity with them on Unified Movements, and I'm connected with them. I'm taking action with them, and just offering people pathways of engagement if they choose.
Thanks.
Wonderful. So if you had to leave our followers with one final thought or statement, what would it be?
go time.
Nice.
I mean, it's like we got to do this now, and we have that opportunity, and I believe we have that responsibility to ourselves, to our children, to future generations. They're looking back at us and thanking us for what we're going to be doing in the months ahead, and because they're going to be able to be around.
Exactly. Well, it's been such a pleasure getting to chat with you and hear about your book and, get these ideas out to people, because I think that's so important that we, make these movements to get this information out to people. So we really appreciate that you joined us today and gave us so
Thank
much
you so much.
knowledge.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
yes, thank you. And we'd love to have you back sometime when you write your next book or.
I'm just going to say that.
People are asking me about that actually, and I'm like, never again. This was the third book, and I'm like, I can't. It's like too much. And then I'm like, you know what? I think I do have one more,
Way to go. Way to go.
but not yet. Not for a while. Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
All right. Peace out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It was a pleasure. And everybody else, tune in next time.
You bet you will.